Hola y buenos días. Yo soy el señor Morris. ¿Cómo están ustedes? How are you all doing? I hope you've had a chance to practice your Spanish. Today, we're going to talk about the date, just a little bit, and then about a special holiday that they observe in Mexico and other parts of the Spanish-speaking world. But first, let's go ahead and sing our opening song. Canten conmigo. Hola, hola, buenos días, bienvenidos, ¿cómo están? Todos juntos ya estamos listos para aprender. Muy bien cantado. Ahora les tengo una pregunta. ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? Repitan. ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? Now, to answer this question, we have a calendar back here. And let me show you that when we answer this question, we're going to look for the day of the week, the date, the number, and the month. So that when we answer this question, we're going to answer it like this. Hoy es the day, and then the date of which month. For example, if today were Tuesday, martes, and if it were the 2nd, el dos, of November, noviembre, we would answer like this. Hoy es martes 2 de noviembre. Okay. But now I have another question for you. What are the days of the week? Otra pregunta. ¿Cuáles son los días de la semana? Repitan. ¿Cuáles son los días de la semana? And again, we can look up here to find our answer to this question. We'll answer it by saying, los días de la semana son lunes, martes, repitan, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado y domingo. Now, one of the interesting things that's a little bit different about the calendar in Spanish-speaking countries is it begins with lunes, which is like our Monday. So their lunes is the first day on their calendar, and domingo is the last day of the week. Sunday is the last day of the week. And if you're familiar with calendars here in the United States, you know that we generally start with Sunday over here. I'd like for you all to continue practicing the calendar activity every day in your class. Something that it's pretty easy to learn. You can probably do it pretty easily, and the great thing is it's new every day. Now, there's a very special day in many Spanish-speaking countries that's kind of on the 1st and the 2nd of November. Today is a feast for the 2nd of November, and we're going to talk about this day, which is called El Día de los Muertos. In English, this is called All Souls Day. Now, on this day, people in many Spanish-speaking countries remember their family members and friends who've died. They'll visit the cemeteries and put flowers on the graves, very much like we do on Memorial Day. But there are many other activities that people participate in on this very special day. We're going to look at how people in Mexico celebrate the Dia de los Muertos during our lesson. Now, the roots of this holiday began long ago in Mexico, before the first Spaniards arrived. It's a holiday that goes back to a time when only Native Americans lived in the Americas. One of the most common ways for people and businesses, schools, and churches to participate is by creating an altar, or an altar, to honor those people who have passed on already. Now, we built an altar here in our classroom last year, and I would like to show you some of the things that are on it right now. Presten atención todos. And there are some things that are very typical that I'd like to point out to you. First of all, this arch. They always have an arch, and that's for the people that we're remembering to be able to pass through and join us in the celebration. Now, all of these things that you see here on our altar are called the ofrenda. Ofrenda, and that means offering. So these are all the things that we're offering. Some of the things that you'll always see are these flowers. These flowers are called Flor de Muertos, okay, or their Nahuatl name is Cempasúchil. And you always see these. As a matter of fact, sometimes they take the petals from these flowers and they'll make a pathway all the way from the cemetery to the house where they're having the party. So those are Flor de Muertos. Now, another thing that's very common that you'll always see on your altar is this. And this is the Pan de Muertos. And if you see, it's got a crossbone shape on the top there. Okay, we're going to talk some more about that in a little while. We always include a lot of skeletal images and skulls and things. One of them are these little toys that are made and played with. These are called calacas. You see, I can pull a string. There, he's dancing. All right, get down, get funky, yeah. This is called a calaca. Another thing that you'll see are skull shapes, like this one here. This is called a calavera. Calavera, and this guy is, Hola, ¿cómo estás? He can talk. That's called a calavera. Another toy that you'll see is something like this. And this one, what does that look like, guys? A coffin, yeah, that's right. And it's got a little string there. If you pull on the string, ah! He's going to pop out and scare you. Now, there are always some common things that you'll find on the altar, and I'd like to point some of those out to you now. There's always food, particularly fruits that were the favorite of the people who passed on. There are candles for the people remembering. The atole and champurrado, the drinks. We have pictures of the people we remember. Candies, nuts, and you see the little candy-shaped skulls there? Those are made out of sugar. Right in the center, we have an incense burner that burns an incense called copal, so that the people who are coming can smell their way to their party. There's always a glass of water so that the spirits who are coming to visit us can have something to drink. There's the sugar cane, caña, something to drink, and there's some calabacitas en dulce, or sweet pumpkin. Yeah, we have a lot of foods that we put on there. We put on mole that's made out of chocolate and seeds and chilies. We put on beans, a lot of foods and a lot of things that are fun because this is a happy holiday. Now, all of the things that you saw there on the altar are very common, but I'd like you to get an idea of the variety of activities that people do on El Día de los Muertos by watching this video now. Presten atención todos.
El Día de los Muertos. El Día de los Muertos is an important holiday all over Mexico, which is celebrated from November 1st through November 2nd in most places. It's a day for remembering the dead, and they are remembered with many things, such as cempasúchil, this marigold-type flower, which has a very strong scent. Mano de león is also used, as well as nube, which means cloud. People can be seen buying flowers all over the streets, and calaveras, or skulls, these made of sugar or alfeñique, a sugary paste. You'll also find ataúdes, or caskets made of candy, which people enjoy giving to their friends and relatives in celebration of the holiday. This woman is decorating a sugar figure with frosting, which is called betún. She has a tiny hole punched in the bag, and as she squeezes the bag, the icing comes out. She's also selling her goods while she's preparing them. There are many different colors of betún so that the figures will look very gay and lively. This is not a scary day, as some people might think at first glance. These masks are not intended to frighten anyone. Rather, they're intended to show that people are poking fun at death, having a good time making fun of it all day long. Lots of people like to wear masks or other costumes for processions and parades on El Día de los Muertos, and this woman has made the masks that you see here. Here we see what's known as a calaca, or a skeleton. On El Día de los Muertos, the dead walk among the living, but no one is frightened. They're welcomed. This is a day for people to feel close to the people who have left them, and again, to sort of poke fun at death. Another way people feel close to their loved ones is with the ofrenda, or offering. Flowers, such as the ones we saw before, especially cempasúchil, are placed on an altar with this offering. Also, many foods and things that the person liked while that person was alive, like this rice put into a brand new pot, as most foods on the ofrenda should be. This person also liked tortillas, seen here in a comal, or griddle, for cooking them. Also important are candles called velas. Usually they should be white or pale yellow in color. These are said to help the dearly departed souls find their way to the offerings, and may even be lit up in a path like we see here on this ofrenda. On this particular ofrenda, we find little tablecloths called manteles, because one wouldn't want to put the food on a bare table. The favorite foods and drinks of this person are on this altar, or altar, as well as copal, burning in an incense. Here we see the deceased person's picture, another typical custom. Pátzcuaro. That's what we see written on this papel picado, or paper cutting, because that's where this particular altar happens to be. There's also a pre-Hispanic figure here. Many of the roots of this holiday can be found in pre-Hispanic traditions. But there are also many things that the Spanish brought, like citrus fruits, the most common fruit seen because it's seasonal at this time. Also, pan de muertos, or bread of the dead, a bread flavored with anise. You'll also find alegrías and calaveras made of amaranto, or amaranth. We see here cocadas and jamoncillo too, typical candies of the season. To help the spirits stay light, there's also lots of dancing in many public places. This is El Baile de los Viejitos, the dance of the little old men. This is a traditional dance from the state of Michoacán. The men here dress up as though they were little old men and begin to dance in a lively way with their canes. By the end of the dance, they will be exhausted and arthritic, barely able to get themselves up. But in the meantime, with their guaraches, a special kind of sandal, these, particularly padded with wood, they're able to stomp out a wonderful rhythm as they dance. The embroidery on their pants is also typical of Michoacan. But there is a more serious side to this day, and that can be seen in the night in the graveyard known as the Panteón in much of Mexico. Here people visit the graves, clean them, decorate them, and light candles. Even children go and may spend the whole night there with their families. People are talking about their loved ones who have died, remembering the good times, and they've also placed food on the graves for them here to show them how much they miss them and how much they would love to share this meal with them. For some Mexicans, the dead really do return on this day. Others simply place the offerings out to remember their dead and try to get over the loss of them. The church bells are ringing too because there's going to be a mass on this evening. The church plays an important part in El Día de los Muertos also. In fact, in this beautiful church, we'll find a gorgeous ofrenda with cempasúchil and candles and all of the foods of the season, particularly breads, more of the Spanish influence in the holiday festivities. There are plátanos, all kinds of bananas, frutas, all kinds of fruits, especially citrus ones, and even some vegetables which are seasonal in the late fall, like chayote, the squash we see here covered with spines. Also these hojaldras, different kinds of breads, manzanas, or apples, maíz, or corn, and many, many other seasonal fruits and vegetables. After El Día de los Muertos has passed, the streets of this town will become calm and quiet again. But the cemeteries remain newly decorated and fresh, ready for the day when the dead come to Mexico again next year.
Now, you've seen some of the things that they do. Now I'd like you to try some of the things to see how it works. One of the things that I'd like to show you is a calaca. And if you look at your activity sheet for today, you'll find the form for making a calaca like I showed you from our altar. Here are the instructions for one of them, and if you'd like to, you could make this one here, the zapatista with his big hat and mustache. So you can make either of those calacas to play with in your classroom. Another thing that they do is recite a poem that I'd like to share with you now. It's called Calaveras, and you can find it in the teacher's guide or in the student resource notebook, so you can refer to it there, and also we'll have a translation. It goes like this. Ahí viene el agua por la ladera y se me moja mi calavera. La muerte calaca, ni gorda ni flaca, la muerte casera, pegada con cera. And you can find that in your teacher's guide or in the student resource notebook, so you can practice saying that. Another thing that they do is make the pan de muertos. And this is what it looks like. I made this pan de muertos last night. Yeah. And you decorate it with sugar, colored sugar, and powdered sugar. And if you look real carefully, you can see the crossed bone shape that I made on there. Now, if you'd like to make some pan de muertos, we've included the recipe in the teacher's guide and in the student resource notebook. It's right here, and you'll see that the recipe is written in Spanish on one side and in English on the other. So you can follow along with the recipe and make your own pan de muertos. Now, I hope that this has stirred some interest in you and that you will continue to look a little bit more into the Dia de los Muertos and find out more about the altares and ofrendas, the pan de muertos, the calacas and calaveras. You go ahead and look into that yourself. I think you'll find it really interesting. Next class, we'll continue to look at the servicios de mi comunidad. So make sure that you have all of those materials ready, and we'll see you then. Ahora tenemos que despedirnos. Hoy vamos a cantar las mañanitas, and this is the birthday song in Spanish. This is the song that they sing to the people who are having a birthday in Spanish. The words are in the teacher's guide and in the student's resource notebooks. Please sing along with me now. Canten conmigo. Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba Reda, pero no eran tan bonitas como las cantan aquí. Despierta, mi bien, despierta, mira que ya amaneció. Ya los pajarillos cantan, la luna ya se metió. Until we see each other again, adiós, nos vemos.